This is the island of Sumba in Indonesia. It's a beautiful place, but it has a problem. The western part of this island is home to one of the oldest and most active volcanoes on Earth. And when I say old, I mean really old. Mount Tambora is so ancient that its peak alone is taller than Mount Fuji in Japan. But what makes this volcano special is not just how big it is, but also where it sits. You see, there are two tectonic plates here, the Pacific Plate and the Australian Plate. For centuries, people have lived around these islands, farming rice fields, catching fish from the sea, and living their lives without any worries. But they had no idea about the sleeping giant beneath them. Tambora was once an underwater mountain, but over millions of years, as the ocean receded, it slowly rose above water level, until it became a landmass. Then, 2 million years ago, something strange happened. The Pacific Plate began to subduct under the Australian Plate, creating deep cracks along the fault line. These cracks allowed magma to rise up through the crust, forming new volcanic mountains. As time passed, these mountains grew larger and more powerful. Scientists believe that at some point, they even reached heights of several kilometers. Experts think that these mountains were formed by eruptions that lasted for thousands of years. Eventually, though, the mountains started shrinking again. They moved away from each other due to plate movements, causing them to become smaller and less active. Some mountains completely disappeared into the ocean, while others remained dormant until now. Life went on with little change for many generations, until one day in April 1815, a British ship sailing near Java Island noticed something strange happening on land. The crew reported seeing ash clouds rising from the shoreline and hearing loud explosions coming from underground. They thought it might be an earthquake or tsunami, but soon realized that they were witnessing a volcanic eruption, unlike anything seen before. This would turn out to be one of history's most violent volcanic events, known as the Tambora eruption. It released enough pyroclastic material into the atmosphere to cover all continents in dust and debris, blocking sunlight for months after its occurrence. But what made this eruption so special? Well, unlike other volcanoes around Indonesia, which usually produce lava flows or explosive gas emissions when erupting, Tambora produced both at once. And because of how powerful these eruptions were, they caused widespread destruction across entire islands nearby. What if the most powerful force on Earth, a volcano, decided to unleash its fury? The consequences could be catastrophic. Imagine this, an eruption so massive that it spews out ash and gas high into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight from reaching our planet's surface. This isn't just science fiction. It's a real possibility that scientists are constantly monitoring. One of the biggest threats comes from supervolcanoes, massive volcanoes with enormous potential for destruction. These giants can change the course of history in minutes. Take Caldera, for example, located 62 miles from Yellowstone National Park. If this volcano were to erupt, it could send enough ash into the atmosphere to block out sunlight completely. This would lead to a volcanic winter, plunging temperatures around the globe. But how long would this darkness last? And what would happen next? In the immediate aftermath, the world would be plunged into darkness, with temperatures dropping rapidly. This volcanic winter could last months, even years in some cases. The impact on our planet's climate would be devastating, leading to crop failures, food shortages, and famine. But what about long-term effects? Could this volcanic winter trigger mass extinctions? Could it lead to the collapse of ecosystems? And how would humanity survive such a disaster? These are questions that scientists are still studying. But one thing is certain: the power of volcanoes cannot be underestimated. Their eruptions have shaped our planet's history, and they continue to pose a threat to life as we know it today. The stratosphere is the second layer of Earth's atmosphere. It extends from about 10 to 80 kilometers, or 6 to 50 miles above sea level. This region plays a crucial role in our planet's climate system and weather patterns due to its unique characteristics and composition. One of the most important features of the stratosphere is the presence of ozone molecules. These molecules absorb harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun, protecting life on Earth by reducing the amount of UV rays that reach us. The average temperature at the top of the stratosphere is around 57 degrees Celsius, 35 degrees Fahrenheit, which is much colder than the troposphere below. However, this coldness doesn't hinder volcanic activity. In fact, some volcanoes can erupt high enough to inject ash into the stratosphere, impacting global temperatures. A significant event linked to the stratosphere was the year without a summer. In 1816, following the eruption of Mount Tambora, the resulting volcanic ash cloud spread across the globe, blocking sunlight and causing widespread crop failures across Europe and North America. This led to food shortages, social unrest, and even migrations as people sought warmer climates. Interestingly, despite these dramatic effects, the overall cooling effect was minimal, with only a slight decrease in global temperatures during that year. But the social consequences were profound. Farmers faced devastating losses as their crops failed under the dimmer skies, leading to economic hardship for many communities. For example, in Switzerland and Canada, snow fell during what should have been warm months, causing rivers to freeze over unexpectedly early. This unusual phenomenon highlighted how interconnected we are with nature and how small changes in atmospheric conditions can lead to large-scale impacts on human lives. Such events remind us of the delicate balance between humans and the environment that sustains us all. Imagine waking up to a world where the sun never rises. Your crops fail and hunger gnaws at your belly. This was reality for millions during the Great Famine of 1845. But what if I told you that this tragedy could have been avoided? In 1845, Ireland faced an unimaginable crisis. The Great Famine swept across the land like a shadow, leaving devastation in its wake. Over 1 million people perished from starvation and disease, while another million fled their homeland, seeking refuge elsewhere. This wasn't just about crops failing. It was a perfect storm of natural disasters, economic policies, and political neglect. The Irish were forced into a corner with no escape, no resources, and nowhere left to turn. What caused this catastrophe? Was it simply bad luck or something more sinister? Stay tuned as we uncover the truth behind one of history's most heartbreaking chapters. And remember, if you want to learn how to make money online today, check out my bio for free training. Don't miss your chance to change your life. Imagine living in a time when bread, the very foundation of life for many people, was so expensive that it became unaffordable. This was the reality during the Great Famine in Ireland from 1845 to 1852. The potato crop failure led to mass starvation and economic collapse. People were forced to make difficult choices between buying basic necessities or paying rent and taxes. Many chose to pay their landlords first, leaving them with nothing else to eat. This crisis not only affected Ireland, but also had a ripple effect across Europe and beyond. The Great Famine was a tragic reminder of how vulnerable people can become when faced with natural disasters. Imagine waking up to a world where the sun never rises. For 18 months, that was reality for Europe and North America. But what caused this chilling phenomenon? In June 1815, Mount Tambora in Indonesia erupted, the most powerful volcanic eruption ever recorded. The explosion sent massive amounts of ash into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight from reaching Earth's surface. This led to what became known as the Year Without a Summer. Crops failed across continents, temperatures plummeted, and food shortages spread like wildfire. People faced starvation, disease, and despair. Farmers lost entire harvests, while cities were plunged into darkness by endless fog. Even artists felt its impact. Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein during these gloomy days, inspired by the eerie atmosphere. But it wasn't just about weather patterns. It sparked social unrest, migration crises, and even inspired revolutions. As people struggled against nature itself, this event reminds us how interconnected our planet is. A single eruption on one side of the globe could ripple through human life everywhere else. So next time you hear about climate change or natural disasters, remember Mount Tambora. Its legacy teaches us something vital. When we harm our environment, we don't just affect ourselves, but every living thing around us. What would you do if the sun vanished overnight? Let me know your thoughts below. In 1815, the world experienced a year without summer. The cause was Mount Tambora in Indonesia, which erupted with such force that it sent an ash cloud high into the atmosphere and blocked out the sun. Crops failed across Europe and North America, and people were forced to eat grass or even snow to avoid starvation. But how did this happen? When Mount Tambora exploded, it blasted tons of ash up into the stratosphere, the second layer of Earth's atmosphere. This is where things get interesting. Normally, sunlight passes through our atmosphere and warms the planet. But when there are particles like ash clouds, they act as tiny mirrors. These mirrors reflect some of the sunlight back into space, instead of letting it reach us. It's like putting a giant shade over the Earth for months on end. And because these particles stayed aloft for years, the effect lasted longer than you might think. As they spread around the globe, temperatures dropped. And by the time we reached 1816, what should have been spring looked more like winter. Farmers couldn't grow food properly because their crops froze under strange weather. People had no idea what was happening. Some thought it was divine punishment. Others said it was just bad luck. But science soon caught up. We now know exactly why this happened. So next time someone says global warming is the only thing affecting our climate, you can tell them about 1816, when nature reminded everyone who's boss. If you enjoyed learning something new today, don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Your support helps me keep creating content that makes history come alive. Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Imagine waking up to a world where the sun barely shines, the ground is covered in snow, and summer never arrives. Sounds like science fiction? Think again. In 1815, Mount Tambora erupted with such force that it blocked out sunlight for months, plunging Europe and North America into what's now known as the year without a summer. Crops failed, food shortages spread, and people faced starvation across continents. But here's the twist. What if this happened today? With modern technology at our fingertips, could we prevent disaster from striking again? Or would we be powerless against nature's fury? Let me take you back to 1815. The eruption of Mount Tambora was so massive, it changed global weather patterns forever. Ash clouds circled the earth for years, blocking sunlight and causing temperatures to drop. Entire regions were plunged into darkness, and while volcanic ash sounds harmless enough, its impact on climate systems led to widespread famine and economic collapse. Fast forward to today, and things are different. We have satellites tracking volcanoes, early warning systems for disasters, and even plans to cool down the planet. If another supervolcano erupted today, we could potentially use cloud seeding to reduce its effects, or deploy aircraft to clear skies faster than ever before. But here's the catch. No system is perfect. Even with all our advancements, a repeat of 1815 would still mean facing unimaginable challenges. So can we stop a natural disaster? Maybe. But will we always be prepared when it happens next time? That remains to be seen. Want more mind-blowing facts about how history shapes us? Today hit subscribe. We are living in a time of unprecedented change. The world is changing faster than ever before, and it's impacting every aspect of our lives. From the way we work to how we shop for food, everything seems to be evolving at an incredible pace. But what if I told you that there was one thing that could bring all this chaos and uncertainty to a screeching halt? What if there was something so powerful, it could stop us dead in our tracks and force us to reevaluate everything? That's right. We're talking about volcanoes. These fiery giants have been around since the dawn of time, shaping landscapes and influencing climates. And they still hold immense power today. In fact, some scientists believe that a single volcanic eruption could trigger catastrophic changes on Earth. According to the Volcano Information Center, a volcano can erupt once every 10 years or so. This means that roughly every decade we see a new volcanic event somewhere in the world. However, these events don't always happen regularly. Sometimes they occur more frequently than others. If you think about it, volcanic activity has shaped human civilization itself. It created fertile land, where early humans settled down and built their first communities. Without volcanoes, who knows where we would be now? So why should we care about volcanoes? Well, let me tell you. They play a crucial role in regulating our planet's climate system. When a volcano erupts, it releases tons of ash into the atmosphere, which reflects sunlight away from Earth and cools things down below ground level. This cooling effect helps regulate temperatures across vast areas of our globe. Scientists study volcanoes closely because understanding them better allows us to predict when another big eruption might occur again. By monitoring volcanic activity worldwide, we gain valuable insights into natural disasters, like earthquakes and tsunamis too. Volcanoes aren't just destructive forces either. They also create beautiful scenery, with stunning views of mountainsides covered in snow or lush greenery.